What a great way to start my day. By drinking a delicious cup of hot coffee. Coffee, too, down the old hatch and into my stomach. You know, I love writing, but I also love drinking 50 cups of coffee every single day.
Balzac's really fucking cool.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of this shit comes out of Balzac, too. But again, Balzac comes out of...
Like what stuff?
Like a lot of crime shit and kind of like pulp.
Okay, yeah. He does have a
like
whole
real
side occult part of his stuff. Yeah.
Occult shit and the thriller stuff, mysteries and murder.
Yeah, it's all in there, yeah.
Spies, and then but also like the whole kind of like soapy serial thing. Of like just like following these characters. And follow these other. It's all sort of this like
they come into the other books.
They come into the other books and stuff, and it's like
it's the human comedy, right? That's all one.
But he was obsessed with fucking Sir Walter Scott.
Damn it! Really? Like obsessed?
It was. But everybody.
Yeah.
And it's so weird how he is such a fucking weird source of so much shit in the 19th.
Yeah, they took him off the earth, and we would just be like reading statistics.
It's kind of true. Like, I don't understand exactly what it was he did, but he's really important.
Yeah.
He's super.
I mean, I know. I have a lock of his hair. I told you that.
No, I think I've seen it. I've seen it.
Yeah.
You sure of this?
I mean, it seemed like a fancy silver thing, and it used to have a piece of paper that said a lock of Sir Walter Scott's hair, but I lost the paper. That's all, and it's my family said it was.
I'm sure it is.
I have no reason to doubt it, but we should recreate the DNA and build him and see what he's like.
That would be amazing.
He's like, I want processor, mate.
It would be amazing. That would be amazing. But he was super important in so many ways.
He was anonymous, right? He was just the author of Waverly for many years.
He was, yeah.
I love that.
And he did a lot of
Waverly's great. I read that one.
He did a lot of that stuff of like pretending to be all these different people. Josiah.
Oh yeah.
Then eventually, I guess he was revealed as him. He's just weird. Those books are so. I've been wanting to reread one or read one that I've never read before.
I mean, Waverly is really good. I really enjoyed that. That's very Scottish Rebellion. That's like exactly like this young guy just gets involved with the rebellion in a way. It's not his main story, but it's in there in this romantic way behind. Red Gauntlet. I love that one.
That's fucking.
You told me to read that one. That was my favorite one, I think.
That's got that Wandering Willie's tale. That has that.
Yeah.
Truly, I think one of the most amazing things I've ever read in my life. I still remember the first time I read that, and I was like crying with like joy and fear and like I still can't believe how amazing that story is. I think that's one of the most amazing stories I've ever read. But he always has those like really great cool characters in his books, like the crazy, like Wandering Willie's like the crazy.
Yeah. He's the folk artist, but also in that one, the description of fishing. I remember that, like, there's a salmon fishing,
spear fishing. The guys on horses.
Yeah.
One of the most amazing.
That is so beautifully handled.
I see that in my head. It's like it's amazing.
Yeah.
Letter 4. I mentioned in my last that, having abandoned my fishing rod as an unprofitable implement, I crossed over the open downs which divided me from the margin of the Solway. And when I reached the banks of the great estuary, which I here very bare and exposed, the waters had receded from the large and level space of sand, through which a stream, now feeble and fordable, found its way to the ocean. The whole was illuminated by the beams of the low and setting sun, who showed his ruddy front like a warrior prepared for defence over a huge battlemented and turreted wall of crimson and black clouds, which appeared like an immense Gothic fortress into which the Lord of Day was descending. His setting rays glimmered bright upon the wet surface of the sands and the numberless pools of water by which it was covered, and with the inequality of the ground had occasioned their being left by the tide. The scene was animated by the exertions of a number of horsemen who were actually employed in hunting salmon. Oh, no, aye, Alan, lift up your hands and eyes as you will. I can give their mode of fishing no name so appropriate, for they chased the fish at full gallop and struck them with their barbed spears as you see hunters spearing boars in the old tapestry. The salmon, to be sure, take the thing more quietly than the boars, but they are so swift in their own element that to pursue and strike them is the task of a good horseman with a quick eye, a determined hand, and full command both of his horse and weapon. The shouts of the fellows as they galloped up and down in the animating exercise, the loud bursts of laughter when any of the number caught a fall, and still louder acclamations when any of the party made a capital stroke with his lance, gave so much animation to the whole scene that I caught the enthusiasm of the sport and ventured forward to considerable space on the sands. The feats of one horseman in particular called forth so repeatedly the clamorous applause of his companions that the very banks rang again with their shouts. He was a tall man, well mounted on a strong black horse, which he caused to turn and wind like a bird in the air, carried a longer spear than the others, and wore a sort of fur cap or bonnet with a short feather in it, which gave him, on the whole, rather a superior appearance to the other fishermen. He seemed to hold some sort of authority among them, and occasionally directed their motions both by voice and hand, at which times I thought his gestures were striking, and his voice.
It's so fucking cool. But there's always something in every one of his books like that I can, the ones that I've read, that I can vividly, this image, like, is indelible. Like,
that's right. He has these almost paintings,
they're like
scenes where everything's happening and like.
Yeah, but it's like, it slows down to this weird point and it becomes
static
for a minute.
Yeah.
Static.
Yeah.
Then it starts moving again.
Describe their bodies, right?
Yeah,
like,
everything.
Really
the way they're standing and stuff like it's really weird.
Yeah.
It's so fucking cool.
Yeah, I have a PhD in Melville, and they never made me read fucking Sir Walter Scott. And like, I read it after, and I'm like, oh my god, Pierre, that book is like, you read that and you're like, this is so uncomfortable and stiff. What is going on? And you read Walter Scott's romances, they're exactly like that book.
But all of it, it's like what Mark Twain is making fun of all that shit too. Mark Twain and his things, and it's like this weird, but everybody, Dickens, everybody was obsessed. But
well, he kind of, I guess, made the modern novel, like, put it on the market.
That's right. And also, I think it was that thing of, I think it was a publishing phenomenon too.
Right, yeah.
That like marketing thing, the like phenomenon.
The author of Waverly and all that stuff.
Yeah, modern publishing and shit happened too. But he was also obsessed with Smollett and Fielding.
Really?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
He was really into those guys.
The 18th century it is just in the English stuff. Yeah. It's so rich. It's so
really fucking cool.
Thick and stinky.
Super thick. Super thick. And he feels really thick, like a thick layer of it. Again, it's like some weird foundational thick fucking layer of something to everything. But nobody thinks about it. But there's this one book, Quentin Durward. It's the best.
I think I read that because you were telling me about it, but I can't remember what the hell it was. God. I did read it. I loved it, I think.
I talked about it, except there's this fucking scene in it where this dude comes in to like beg the mercy of the French king. And there's all these.
What period does it take? Well, because he does them all over the place.
Like the 12th century or something.
Okay.
It's in France, and it's about a young Scottish guy who goes and joins this mercenary guard that guarded the French king of Scottish guards that guarded
that's right. Yeah.
evil French king Louis the 11th or something like that. And he's like this like foxy, like Machiavellian guy. And at one point, this dude comes in to beg mercy from him, and all these knights are standing around looking at this guy, and this one guy just steps forward with a mace and just brains the guy. But the description of it's like that fishing thing. I can see it in my head as this painting, because it literally flows into slow motion as he like kills the guy, and it's fucking insane, the description of it. And it's like the description of the guy.
The tyrant slowly raised himself in his chair, and the amazement with which he was at first filled gave way gradually to rage, until, as the bishop ceased, he looked to Nickel Block and raised his finger without speaking a word. The ruffian struck, as if he'd been doing his office in the common shambles, and the murdered bishop sunk without a groan at the foot of his own episcopal throne. William Delamarck, raising his tremendous voice above the tumult and shaking his clenched hand and extended arm, shouted aloud, "Now, you porkers of Liège, you wallowers in the mud of the maze, do you dare to meet yourselves with the wild boar of the Ardennes? Up, you boar's brood!" An expression by which he himself and others often designated his soldiers. "Let these Flemish hogs see your tusks!" And every one of his followers started up at the command.
That book is fucking amazing. And nobody reads that book, and it's amazing. It's such a...
It's endless. It's like, I remember I was blind trying to read my paperback.
One of the things I like about him is I get kind of hypnotized when I read them. I'm just like, you just start, it's this weird hypnotic thing.
I read The Talisman. That was a good Middle Eastern one. That was cool. Yeah, like yeah.
So cool. And Richard, did I ever tell you I saw
Richard the Third? Richard the First, Lionheart.
Richard the Lionheart. I saw Aqua. I stayed in Haifa. I went to Israel.
Oh, really? You never told me that. For a film?
And I came into this hotel room, and I had to be interviewed by somebody. And I was coming with this guy who was interviewing me, and he was like, and of course, across the bay right there, that is Aqua. And I looked out the window, and it was just like, this is spectacular castle. I was like,
mountain.
Oh my God. And it was just like, it was so fucking cool. Oh my God, have you been to Israel? You have?
No, I haven't.
Let's saw that.
I've been reading slowly. I can't. It's really hard. But Clarel, the Melville poem, that's also about Israel, but also based a little bit on Scott. I think. I mean, on those Scots, but it's very similar parts of it to the Talisman.
The description in that of the Arab horsemen that he sees. Have you read that in Clarel?
Yeah.
That tribe of Arab horsemen is another thing that I'll never forget it. Like the image in my head is like.
Oh yeah, that's a very Scottian imagery in that.
Unbelievable.
I love how when I was in school, that poem was unmentionable in a way. And now it's been reissued, and you see people on the internet are like, "This is my favorite Melville work."
It's awesome.
That's so cool that it's back.
Really cool. It's really cool that people are reading that, because that book is amazing.
I think it's like rap in a weird way.
It is.
It sounds stupid, but if you read it out loud, it's rhyming in this really hyper way.
It's some strange meter or something, right?
Yeah.
Some weird meter that makes it kind of really.
I guess so. Yeah, it is. The rhyme scheme is some odd.
But again, you're right. It's Sir Walter Scott, dude. You got.
We're back on Scott.
Israel, yeah, but I mean, it always comes back to.
Well, maybe Scotland will be free soon. What would he think about that? He would just be like.
Well, I don't know, because he was conservative, so it's like.
That's right. He was a unionist.
I think he had this whole thing of the two crowns must be joined, and we must be ruled by. It's like you can't be the English king.
He was a lowlander, right? He wasn't a Highlander.
Yeah, I think so. Although I think sometimes the lowlanders were more psycho than even the Highlanders.
Probably.
That history gets so complicated.
I know. That is interesting.
That Sir Walter Scott basically kind of invented a lot of the kind of modern pomp and shit that's associated with the royal family. That he made up a lot of this shit that they do.
No way. Really?
Yeah. They have even made up the knighting somebody with a sword thing and stuff like that. But he kind of invented the whole tartan thing. I don't think that they really. That's a 19th century invention. I think the tartan thing was vaguely something, and then he made it more of a thing.
That it wasn't all a tribal symbol, or
he did all this historical nostalgia.
That's so funny, and then history becomes that.
Yeah,
that's really how fiction is so powerful. Yeah,
it's really weird.
Over there 'twas hard for mounted men to move among the thickets interwove, which dipped the stream and made a snare. But, undeterred, the riders pressed this way and that among the branches, picking them lanes through each recess, till backward on their settling haunches the steeds withstand the slippery slope, while yet their outflung 4 feet grope. Then, like sword push that ends in lunge, the slide becomes a weltering plunge. The willows drip, the banks resound, they halloo, and with spray are crowned. The torrent swelled by Lebanon rains, the spirited horses bravely stem, snorting, half blinded by their manes, nor let the current master them. As the rope dancer on the hare poises the long slim pole in air, twirling their slender spears in pride, each horseman in imperiled seat blends skill and grace with courage meet. Soon as they win the hither side, like quicksilver to beach they glide, dismounting, and essay the steep, the horses led by slackening rein, slippery foothold ill they keep. To help a grim one of the band, good Nehemiah with mickle strain down reaches a decrepit hand. The sheik ignores it. Bandit done, foremost in stride, as first in rank rejects it, and the knoll is won. Challengingly he stares around, then stakes his spear upon the bank as one reclaiming rightful ground. Like otters when they to land go, riders and steeds how sleekly show. The first inquiring look they trace is gun by gun, as face by face. Salute they yield, for arms they view inspire respect, sincere and true. Meantime, while their bearing shows the thought which still their life attends, and habit of encountering foes, the thought that strangers scarce are friends, what think the horses? Czar must needs be sociable. The robber steeds she whinnies to, even fain would sway neck across neck in lovesome way. Great Solomon of rakish strained trumpets would be Don Juan again. The sheik, without a moment's doubt, Jalea for captain singles out, and after parley brief would fain handle that pistol of the guide, the new revolver at his side. The Druze assents, nor shows surprise. Barrel, cap, screw, the Arab tries, and the contrast needs he own. Alack, for his poor lance and gun, though heirlooms both, the piece in stock half honeycombed with cumbrous lock, the spear like some crusader's pole dropped long ago when death damp stole over the night in Richard's host, then left to warp by Acre lost, dry rib of lance. But turning now upon his sweetheart, he was cheered. Her eye he met, the violet glow, peaked ear, the mane's redundant flow. It heartened him, and round he veered. Elate, he shot a brigand glare. I, Ishmael, have my desert mare.